So we have arrived at Powerhouse Gym in Connecticut, one of the best gyms on this earth. And I'm with my overly jacked friend, Gabe, who is 230 pounds lean.
Ready for action.
Ready for action and ready to take me through his upper body day. And this is going to be quite the workout. So we're going to film.
This will be the greatest workout of your life.
Gabe says it's going to be the greatest workout of my life. We're going to see how this actually goes down. But yeah, stay tuned.
First, we are going to do a 225 rep out, close grip fiasco. This is going to blast our triceps while also incorporating a lot of the upper chest. A lot of people do not realize just how much upper chest you are using when you use a closer grip on the bench press. So that's what we're going to do. So if we're about to do a 225 rep out, the thing is I eat that shit for breakfast. Sean eats that shit for breakfast. But one might think, so you're just gonna do one plate then two plates? No, because the way you eat that for breakfast is by utilizing what is called post-activation potentiation. So what that means is, what I am going to do is load up maybe 2 plates of a quarter, maybe 3 plates, nothing crazy, and I'm just going to move it fast. The idea is that I am trying to turn on every single motor neuron in my chest, in my triceps, and in every muscle involved, and I'm trying to use every fiber possible. So my body knows that I do not need all those fibers to bench 225. I can do that shit drunk. So why would it turn on more fucking fibers if it doesn't have to? So I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna move 2.5, maybe 3 plates, move it fast, bang, bang, bang. Then I'm gonna drop the weight, and what do you know, it's gonna feel a lot easier. I'm working with more fibers. What was that, 31?
What's the purpose?
First thing we start with is close grip bench. Obviously, we are primarily targeting our triceps, but as we spoke about earlier, the byproduct of that is also blasting the upper chest, which is the second most common worked part of the chest. So now, similarly, we're gonna blast our biceps with the chin-ups and work the second most commonly worked part of the lat, the lower lat. Then we're going to follow up with dips, which secondarily work the triceps and blast them.
Don't tell him too much now.
Okay, don't tell him too much.
And how many sets of this?
Just 3.
Gabe.
Yes. So next we have dips. Dips are now going to work a lot of the lower chest, obviously, and a lot of the triceps. So now we've got the upper chest, the lower chest, and the triceps, and the front delts done.
Why?
So we're gonna do rows right here. We're just gonna blast the chops, the middle, and upper back. single arm tricep.
What are we doing right now?
Pullovers.
Why?
Pullovers is a beautiful transition from torso to arms, especially because we're going to work these like the serratus. We're going to work right here, we're going to work right over here, and that's going to just, that energy, I can feel the energy coming from here, spreading to my arms. It's all about the energy. So the thing about incline curls is by nature of your bicep being in this stretch position, you're going to be blasting your long head no matter what you do. So I'm gonna start with hammer curls and really fuck it up. I'm gonna really blast it. This is how I start. Now when I have a few reps in reserve, I'm gonna go to a lighter weight and I'm going to hold it with a shift grip on the inside like this. As I come down, I get to almost hammer position, come up and I twist in. So I'm fighting to keep it horizontal. This gives just as much of a blast to the long head of my bicep while also incorporating the short head as well. Ah.
如果努力工作意味着成功，那么驴子将拥有农场。
Gabe, what does that mean?
That means if hard work means success, the donkey would own the farm. How does that apply to what we have learned today? Well, today we saw that the exercise selection was incredibly intentional. A lot of the times, dudes will come into the gym and they'll put on their straps and their belts and they'll just do whatever exercises they want to do, whatever they say, oh, I feel the muscle working this time. And they'll go really hard, they'll try really hard, the effort is there, but the intention is not there. And so they're leaving a lot of gains on the table. And that's why it is important to have someone who is behind you able to take a second look at your workout program and say, okay, here's what you're leaving out, here's what you're forgetting, here's what you have too much of, not enough of, here's how we can improve. And I think that's important for all of you. And that's why you should subscribe to Sean Mason Fit and to Sean Mason's coaching, because there, Sean Mason will make sure that you have both energy and intention, and you will not be a donkey.
Okay, let me ask you this question, Gabe. So, when I first met you, you were around 200 pounds, not a ton of muscle, but you had a good build and you had the work ethic, which is the hardest thing that most people lack. And that's the biggest component to growth, is trying a lot of things and executing on those specific things to figure out what works, what doesn't work, and bringing the intensity to the training sessions, which is, one of the biggest things that's helped you grow. But let me ask you this in specific. Over your years of pushing yourself to the maximum in terms of trying to build as much muscle as possible, trying to optimize recovery, trying to supplement in the best way possible to grow, what are the 3 things that you learned through your experience that were the biggest things in helping you put on this amount of size?
I'll tell you 3 things. Patience, a sense of urgency, and how to discern when you need to practice more of those 2. There are some times you need to act with a sense of urgency. You need to say, okay, I have to get up at work tomorrow at 7. And so I need to know what time I'm going to need to go to bed in order to get those 8 hours. And if that's what time I need to go to bed, I need to make my meals at this time. I need to take my supplements at this time. I need to do this. And having that sense of urgency and saying, I am going to forego my downtime, my relaxation that I need so much because I need to make it happen. That's the sense of urgency. But patience at the same time, understanding that all of that foregoing downtime, that is a big cost. And for a long time, you're just going to be miserable and see no result. But over time, those days will compound and eventually you'll start to see something. You'll say, it was worth it. It was worth it. And being able to remind yourself of those 2 things are very powerful skills.
And with the training, when you see yourself, giving it your all, giving it, 110%, what percent of that do you think comes down to just wanting it as bad as possible?
Sean, At first, that's what it was for me, is I wanted it bad and I wanted recognition very badly. And because of that, I felt I had to keep up an image and maintain an image because otherwise I wouldn't see myself in a positive way. So I was externally motivated.
Mm-hmm.
But now I have both intrinsic and external motivation. And a big part of my motivation comes from everything but the weight room. And it comes from everything but the physical result. I don't care for bodybuilding, but I am addicted to walking in a room and everyone looking at me and saying, who the hell is that? Why does he look like that? How does he look like that? What does he have to say?
Mm-hmm.
That feeling of instant respect and acknowledgement is quite addicting. And now it's just a part of my routine that I don't notice, but I don't think I would be able to live without it.
Mm-hmm. And most people, you know, we were talking a lot last night about yourself as an individual and how people oftentimes will look at you and they make assumptions based on your size and, you know, how big you are, how much muscle you're carrying, and they think that, oh, this guy is some sort of idiot or, you know, mule in terms of he's just huge.
Yes.
But then when people listen to you talk and you're able to articulate your words and dissect things and analyze things in a crazy way, you know, that often brings another layer to the table of what you're able to do.
It oftentimes does, and it's a kind of, being jacked is a double-edged sword. Being jacked in America puts you in the most discriminated against group, and I stand on that firmly. I feel the discrimination in my day-to-day life. People oftentimes want to prove to me that they're not afraid of me, or they want to prove to me that they're not intimidated, and they say to themselves, oh, this guy, he's not so tough, and he probably thinks he's better than me. And I don't necessarily think I'm better than anybody, but when people act a certain way that I can sense that they're just trying to prove to me that they're not afraid of me, it tells them that they're afraid of me. And I don't want that. I truly don't. But, you know, that's the penalty you pay, because I would much rather that than wake up and say, I hope nothing bad happens to me today. My fate is in other people's hands. So it is really a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm. How much does getting in good shape add another layer to your life in terms of your confidence, making you just an overall well-rounded person, and also, you know, just having that ability to just, you know.
Of course, it helps a lot, and oftentimes people who just don't get it. And they will say, why do you spend so much time doing that? You have to think of just how many people exist who are spending so much time in pursuit of the same goal. And it's a goal that you can only understand once you're there. The grass is only greener once you're standing on the grass. But from the outside, the grass doesn't look so green. It looks green, but not that green. But the second you step on the grass, it's the most nourishing grass around. And you don't get it until you get it. I try to explain it to people, but I feel like a Jedi trying to explain what the Force is to someone who's not of the Force.
So we were talking today about when you initially, so my dad is a bodybuilder and a personal trainer and a coach. And something that I want to stress to people is the fact that when Gabe was starting out, he specifically asked me, Sean, can I talk to your dad for like an hour on the phone and just ask him questions? Because I think one of the most important things, and one of the things that I run into a lot as a coach, is arrogance and people that think they know everything yet need help. So in Gabe's case, he was already, you know, making gains. He was seeing a lot of progress, but he still thought to himself, I could know more. I could
100%.
improve on what I'm trying to do, and it could speed up the process. So if you could talk a little bit about that, talk a little bit about why it is important to actually reach out to somebody that might know more than you and take pieces of what they know and help improve what you're trying to do.
It is very important to do so, and oftentimes I'll be talking to my own clients and people will kind of say to me things like, well, why am I doing that? And it's fine to ask the question, but I cannot tell you how frequently people will ask me questions like that, but their tone is insinuating that what I am telling them to do is nonsense, when I so clearly have the aesthetic result, the athletic result, the weight room performance result, the confidence result, all of these things. And I kind of just want to shake my client and say, listen here, buddy. If I tell you to shoot yourself in the foot before you squat, you do it. Because as far as you know, that's some advanced technique that only works once you do it. But people don't want to do it. And so the fact of the matter is, I don't work with people who do not just listen. And I'm always glad to explain why. But I'm never going to have it with the condescending tone, because I don't need to have it with the condescending tone, so I won't. And oftentimes, I have got the best results out of people who know more than me when I have approached them very humbly with the I don't know shit mentality. So, for example, one day, it was actually a very formative day for me. I called Sean's dad for like 45 minutes when I was a junior in high school, and it changed the way I see the body in general, because you have to see it from a very different view in order to be successful in anything you're doing. You have to realize that your body is the most advanced piece of machinery on the planet that nobody truly understands except for God himself. And because of this, your body is able to adapt to whatever you throw at it. Now that's simple enough, but most people think they know exactly what type of adaptation they are going for when they do certain things, when really they're going for something completely different. And so conversations like that show me how I can be a lot more intentional in my training, and they're always very thought-provoking.
Yeah, and you actually brought up something that I will also want to talk about is when I watched you train. So when I initially saw Gabe training, I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing? You know, he would be doing 12 fucking sets of preacher curls of like as many reps as he possibly could to failure. And I would just watch him and I'd be like, well, this doesn't make sense on paper, but he's growing at such a massive rate that there has to be some sort of science behind it. And the only explanation that I could gather was Gabe is just forcing his body to grow.
You're forcing it to grow.
There is no rhyme or reason. And I think this is important to talk about too, because I think people get over analytical when it comes to training, and they think that there's, this RIR, this specific way of doing this is going to get me this result. When in reality, there's many ways to grow. You just have to be intentional with what you're doing and just believe it's going to work. Because belief is going to be the biggest thing that's going to force you to grow or get you anywhere, get you any sort of desire.
Yes, and there are many ways you can grow. And one thing I was talking to my youngest brother about is that while there are many ways to grow, you have to remember that what your body wants and what you want are sometimes different things. So when I was back in the day doing 12 sets of preacher curls, I'm sure I didn't need to do 12, but my thought process was basically saying to my body, hey, you're going to be doing a lot of preacher curls for the foreseeable future, so you might as well get good at it. And so
It's true.
You're going to be doing a lot, so you might as well get good at it. And my body was like, okay. And it just grew my biceps. What do you know? But that is funny. That is funny. But, you know, your body is going to adapt to whatever you throw at it. But you can unintentionally throw something at your body that you did not realize that you were going to throw at it. I was talking to one of my other friends the other day, and he said to me, Gabe, when I'm in the gym, no matter what I do, my left upper chest will not grow at the same rate as my right upper chest. But in the gym, I'm going out of my way to make sure I'm compensating, and I'm going out of my way to push more into the barbell with this. What should I do? And I told him, it's everything you're doing outside of the gym. You need to be driving with your left hand. You need to be holding things with your left hand, because your nervous system on your right side is far more active than on the left side. So all the muscles are firing way more on the right side than on the left side. And he said, wow, I didn't realize that. His body was adapting to things he didn't realize he was throwing at it just because it wasn't in the gym. And that happens all the time. So just because you want something doesn't mean your body wants something. Your body is made to survive. It adapts to survive, not adapts to bodybuild. But if you can hijack that, if you can hijack your body's survival adaptation ability for something aesthetic, then you'll have the better look.
Very good, very good. Okay, well, I hope you guys learned something from this raw talk with this 230-pound
Gabe G Trains. It should be so easy to find. Gabe G Trains. I have a little dragon next to my name because I'm the dragon of Rhode Island. That is what they call me.
All right, guys. I'll see you.